Welcome back to the show, Icons in the World. And if this is your first time to the show, hey, thank you for checking this out, y'all. This is a Metro Icon podcast. My name is Shawn Kay the Showman, in case you didn't know, of Do It All Entertainment and DIA Media, bringing you these shows every single week, usually on Thursdays. And you can see the amazing conversations about the world of entertainment and media and the icons that live in it. But I got to talk to you about this episode. It's an amazing one because it's actually a close homie of mine in the comedy game. But before we go into that and introduce him onto the show, first, we do got some upcoming shows that are going on at the Library Bar. You can catch me there pretty much every single Tuesday night, y'all. It is going down. We should have had the open mic and karaoke sometimes this week. Next week, we got our first live podcast silent party. First of its kind, which is going to be happening every third Tuesday of the month, and then closing out the month with one more open mic karaoke sometime. That is to build a talent showcase at the Library Bar in the coming months. But as well, make sure you guys tune in to all of our sponsors like InsiderCloth.com. Get the promo code, y'all. Get 10% off your next order. And then, of course, we got Teddy Johnson of D&K Contracting. Whatever that work or home project, restoration, insurance claim you need to do, that's the guy you need to contact, y'all. Information in the promos to come. And of course, Do It All Entertainment and DIA Media Solutions, man. Mentioning the Metro Icon podcast, y'all, you do not want to delay because this is booking season to come in for your year. So whether it's a corporate event, for either your live event or your media package. This is going to be a super awesome episode. I'm talking to my homie Sri Raj, prominent comedian around the DFW area. He's also one of the first guys that I met going into the comedy scene, and he's always been an A1 dude from the jump. So I have some fun, and unfortunately, I did not realize that my camera stopped recording halfway through the podcast episode, and we just get so engulfed with it, so we don't even take any breaks. And so if you're watching this podcast episode, you'll notice the footage doesn't sync, but we definitely make sure that the dynamic is still there. So either way, y'all, turn up your speakers and get live. This is my episode with Sri Raj.
You could do it all. You can't.
Do it all, baby.
Do it all, baby. You know what it is. Welcome, everybody, to the Metro Icon Podcast. Once again, y'all, I'm Shawn Kay the Showman. And you know what we do on this podcast? We talk about the world of entertainment and media and the icons that live in it. And I have been waiting for this episode, y'all, because let me tell you, man, it's not easy to schedule with people that's got so much going on in their lives, especially the brown men that, just have just required so much in their lives, for success. And ladies and gentlemen, I got a legend around the DFW area. You can catch him at all comedy clubs, Hyenas, Dallas Comedy Club, The Improv. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for my man, Mr. Sri Raj, everybody.
What up?
It's about damn time, bro.
I know,
it's about
for real.
damn time.
For real, it took a long time.
It did, man. How you feeling, man? You feeling good going into this October month?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I think October's a little bit slow. So,
Yeah.
but it's a good rest. It's like a
Yeah.
come down. I can start working on bits again and stuff.
Well, I think it's also just kind of like the natural, like the last few months going into the wintertime, it kind of just slows down for the industry in general.
Someone told me a long time ago it always comes in waves.
Yeah.
Right? Like it comes in waves. Like when you're booked, you're like booked like crazy for like 5 weeks, and then it just stops. And then it starts all over.
And you're like, what the fuck do I do with my life now?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, it's good, man. Well, even though that we're recording this at the end of September, going into October, this episode would more than likely be released. Oh, what's up, Rufus? More than likely be released around Christmas time, which is a perfect time because, you're everyone's favorite Indian Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
It's my side gig.
Srita Claus.
Yeah,
That's
right.
what I like to call, Do you ever think about like picking up a gig, like, at the mall, just some little like, take a picture with Santa, and just throw people off,
I don't want to ruin those kids' impression about
or
Santa,
you know what, or maybe make them think of a realm of diversity. You know, there could be a multiverse of Santa Clauses, and there's just that one Indian one.
Start the diversity and inclusion.
You need it. You need to start that fucking movement, bro.
Oh yeah.
You need it. You're the only one that can pull it off. To be honest with you.
Whenever my beard gets a little bit more gray, then I can get into it. I still got some color in here.
Yeah, it's still too much pepper in that salt.
Yeah. Once all this kind of takes over, then I'll get into it.
Either way, man. I mean, if you guys have a chance to go around DFW and you see this man on the card, you know that it's going to be a very, very fun set. So make sure you guys check him out. And you're doing a lot more sketches and stuff too on the socials. Are you doing it only for Instagram, or are you doing it on the TikTokies?
I got it on the TikTokies too, man. Got it on the TikTok. I had my first viral clip.
Oh snap!
I had my first viral clip.
That felt good, didn't it? How did it take a while? Like, was it a quick post, and then like within just like a few days or that week, that's when it started going viral, or was it like a slow cook and burn, and then because that's what happened to me.
It was like, I think like 4 or 5 hours later, I was telling my wife, I was like, yo, this thing's kind of, I was like, this is picking up. But I've had clips go up to like 700K, like 800K, right? And just never go past that amount. And then like overnight, when I checked it over again, I had like, it was like, you know, on TikTok it has that 99 plus notifications. I was like, yo, I've never seen that. So it was like, I think it was like a little overnight thing. Like it went overnight real quick because it was in like a day. It was at like 1 million. And I was like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah, is it? So I did one of my TikTok videos that went viral. I was making fun of that wipe it down challenge.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah. So that one was the one where like, and I think it happened fairly quickly. I think it was like, well, maybe a week or 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden it was like boom, like it was like that 99 plus notifications, whatever. And my biggest thing was I had so many people remix the audio, like make their own video with my audio, and that's how it got so popular. Was it? Did you see if it was other people kind of like using your clip, or was it just the views?
No, it was just the views, man. Mine was we were in I don't know if you've seen it or not. We were in Paris, right? Like this happened when we were in Paris, and we were on a riverboat cruise, and like the Eiffel Tower is there, and I was like, yo, like I was doing this whole like Texans in Paris sketches. Like I had like a part 1, part 2. So the part 2 clip went viral, and it was just like us staring at the Eiffel Tower, and I was like, this is just like the Riverwalk in San Antonio, and it blew up. The Spurs commented on it.
No shit.
Yeah, I was like, what? That's what my friends were like, oh, yo. I was like, y'all didn't care about this at all. And then now the Spurs comment on it. They're like, whoa, look, this is our boy.
Yo, I've been supporting him since day one, bro.
Yeah.
Man, fuck, Indian people are something else. Are they all Indians? I'm just assuming they are.
Like, when we were at a baby shower when all that stuff was starting to go down. So I was
bring it up in the baby shower and shit. Man, Indian people are something else, bro. Like, it's so funny because they are masters of silent support. But as soon as you get some clout, then they're like, oh, I've known him since he was a little child, and I've been like, and they want to bring some calamity to have of your established relationship when you probably have never talked to them since the last baby shower, you know?
People were like messaging me on Insta. They were like, yo, I saw your clip on TikTok, and I was like, yo, that's cool. Come out to a show.
Yeah, right. Show me you support that, you know? For real. So. But that's awesome. Congratulations on that.
No, yeah, it was cool. It was
yeah, I will. It was funny when I talked to Paul. It was right before we got started recording, and I think he had a video on one of his reels that was going viral, and it was at like 3.2 or something. Like it was a lot. And then he was on his phone. He was like, "Oh, that's nice." And then I'm like, "Oh, did you get a nice text from your lady?" And he's like, "Oh, no, it was just Russell texting me, you know, congratulations on my clip going viral." And I'm like, when you say Russell so like nonchalantly, you're talking about Russell Peters, right? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, what a fucking low-key flex, bro. Like, I know. Like, what a flex, dude. Like, come on.
It is super low-key.
It is such a low-key flex.
Yeah. It's what these Indian guys do. Like, Raj Sharma, Paul, they'll just, like, drop stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we'll be having a conversation. I'll be like, yeah, I love George Lopez and stuff. He was like, yeah, I went to his birthday party last
year. Yeah. Like, not a big deal. Not a big deal. Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah. Too casual. Yeah. And it's like, and you know, I believe that you and I are in a position to be able to have those flexing moments of, you know, bit notoriety and you know, being able to hang with the glamorous and stuff like that. But, you know, until then,
still a big deal to us.
No,
you know?
of course. Yeah.
You know,
that
like,
guy is selling out stadiums in Dubai.
yeah,
Like,
dude. Like, stop. Just stop acting like
Yeah.
it's too chill. Because, I mean, aside from just stadiums, this motherfucker's doing, Russell Peters is doing, like, private shows for, like, Dubai princes.
Dubai princes.
Yeah. That, like, are more money than what he would be making for a sold-out arena show.
For sure.
So,
I've been to Dubai. I know what they can.
oh, have you?
Yeah, I've been to Dubai.
That is a dream of mine. I definitely want to go. How long were you there?
So my aunt lives there, and she works for the UAE. Right?
Oh,
Like
shit.
the airlines or whatever, the Emirates Airlines.
Yeah.
So it's the only reason we could even go there. Honestly, it's because she was like, I
Family
got this
discount?
family discount on these tickets. You know, otherwise we wouldn't even show up. We would never leave the airport.
Yeah, right.
You know?
This is wonderful. Look,
Yeah,
look through the window. It's
it was amazing. We saw like, I mean, it's just like supercar after supercar after supercar, and I'm talking about like, you know, Rolls Royce, Bentley, McLaren. Dubai is one of those places where the land is so expensive, right? And only citizens of Dubai can buy land.
Yeah. I heard that.
So if you buy land in Dubai, the government gives you a Lamborghini or Ferrari of
What?
your choice. Yeah. So their classified ads in their newspapers, something me and my brother kept, is all these people that are just trying to get rid of their extra Ferraris and Lamborghinis.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
like
no.
for free?
No. They're selling them. It's in their classified ads.
Oh,
It's like
yeah,
they're just
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to sell them and stuff.
I was like, give away. I was like, yo.
No, otherwise I would have been like, yo, I'll take one back.
I was like, shipping costs can't be that bad, you
Yeah,
know?
nah,
Like, it'd be
nah.
like probably like $5 to $10,000 to ship a Lambo from Dubai, I would
I don't know.
imagine.
I don't even think about it. It's not. The entire time I was like, you know how like you go into a mall and there are stores, you're like, I'm not gonna walk into that store. It's I don't belong
It's too
in that
nice.
store.
Yeah,
I felt
yeah.
like that the entire country. I
The
was
ent-
like, I don't belong in this country.
Every street.
Everything is too nice. But it was really cool because there were areas of Dubai where there was like a church right next to a mosque, right next to a temple.
Oh, that's
Right?
beautiful.
And so everybody's just kind of walking around doing their
Yeah.
thing, chilling. There's like food vendors and stuff. It was cool, man.
When did you make this trip? Was it before COVID?
Yeah, it was way before COVID.
Okay.
It was like
Because I heard they were hella strict. Because I had a cousin of mine that was living in Dubai, or Abu Dhabi, which is right next to it, right?
It's like something. Yeah, they're like all these. Yeah.
And what he was telling me how like COVID was straight buck wild. Like, I mean, you know, through all the WhatsApp, you know, messages and shit, this dude was like sending videos and stuff. But like, literally, like, well after we had, you know, America started somewhat opening up, like they were still on hardcore strict restrictions.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, and the crazy part is too, is that, you know, he's an original Kerala resident, you know, and he ended up moving back to Kerala.
Okay.
But you know, because of that, there's less liberties that you're given because you're not a full resident or a born resident of Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, there's it's like it's different over there. For like, there's like expats over there. There's like, I think there's like a level of like expats. If you're like an American expat over there, they like give you like of the flat of your choice. Like you can make a lot of money and stuff. But then I think like Indians are treated so much more differently.
So I'm obviously familiar with what an expat is, but why don't you explain for everyone else what
if you come to Dubai or Abu Dhabi to work from a different country, you're an expat. Like that's what it is. That's what it is.
Of course. Yeah. That's obviously that's what it
there you
means,
go.
guys.
Yeah.
So, but if the American expats they have a lot more luxuries than
I
other
think.
countries.
Well, I mean, I think Dubai got in trouble for like treating all like these poor Indian workers. They got all these Indian workers to come to.
They had it coming. They
Yeah,
had
to
it
help-
coming. They had been pushing us away. And
what was going on? They have like FIFA going on over there or something, right? They have like a World Cup that's supposed to happen, right? And they were building all the stadiums and stuff, and then all these news articles got linked like they were treating the workers like horrible, and they weren't like letting them go back and stuff. So it was pretty. I mean, it was a pretty bad situation, but it like
yeah.
not surprised.
I mean, we had it coming. We had it coming for a while. We've kind of denied them, with those borders for a while. So
Yeah,
I mean,
so.
it is what it is. But that's cool, man. I mean, hopefully, we'll see maybe with the next few years and stuff like that. But I mean, with my my circumstances and obligations coming soon. Like,
yeah,
you know,
Mr. Fiance.
Mr. Fiance, I am financed, you know, and you know, it's coming with consequences, you know, but I'm looking forward to it though. Actually, we're all actually, we have a special relationship, me and my girl and her 3 kids and stuff, and they're very much looking forward now to Texas. Like, they're like looking at videos and looking at TikTok videos, and there's like a couple channels that like show like scenes in Texas that you didn't know existed and all this kind of stuff. But I mean, they know that the opportunity is greater here. So I mean, it's gonna be great. But I'm super excited because now I'm building such a really good relationship with her son, who's 14.
Yeah.
And this kid's like a star boxer.
Oh,
like,
really?
This kid's gonna be like, and what's wild is that he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes last year.
Wow.
And so I did a little research and found out that there was never been any classified boxer with a form of diabetes that has ever won a title, shit, or belt.
Okay.
So this kid is just now on fire, dude. Like the discipline and willpower he has at the age of 14, I wish I have now at 35.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like,
No, I know what you're talking about.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
this kid is like waking up early. Like, I'm telling him like, yo, you need to get to a point, like, cause I used to be a personal trainer like 10 years ago, you know, in the many jobs I worked through before I started Do It All and everything like that. But I used to be a personal trainer. One of the places I used to run power hours at Title Boxing Club. So I remember all the calisthenics and just general workouts and what you want to do to focus on certain areas and stuff. So I've been just telling him little things and just even more body weight stuff. But this kid, like, if I tell him like, yo, when you wake up, you need to either do a 2-minute plank or 50 push-ups. And this kid is literally like, he will start with a 1-minute plank and then just start doing push-ups and like start doing more workouts and trying
cool.
and then her my fiance's older brother opened up a boxing studio, the only one in Goshen. So he opened it up in record time, but it blew up immediately. Like, he became sold out within less than a month. He had like a waiting list,
Yeah, wow.
you know, which is great, which is
No, that's
amazing.
good. That's great.
But you know, this kid literally, there's no days off for him. He's just going in, and if he's not able to go to the studio, he's like going out. So it's like, I'm excited because now I'm looking at, there's a couple boxing gyms like around South Dallas and stuff, and I'm looking in those areas, and I'm like, all right, I want to find a decent like 4-bedroom, but nothing that's like too ghetto, you know.
Yeah.
But I do want to live in a place with some grit. Like, and even him, he's like, I don't want to go to the nicest gym. I don't want to be trained in the nicest gym. Like, it's crazy. And like, I think that's part of also the reason why like I had such a adoration for them, because you know, Indian kids are spoiled. You know, are you an uncle?
I'm an uncle now. Like, I have my brother has a kid.
Okay.
And then my wife's sister, my brother-in-law, we have a niece and a nephew. They're around the same age.
Yeah.
She just turned 2. The niece just turned 2. My nephew is like a year and 6 months.
Okay.
But we're like the older aunt and uncle.
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
cooler aunt and uncle. So I'm just like anything they want.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm just buying
But
anything.
but what I'm assuming though that your siblings don't do comedy and went into the realm of the standard Indian that has a good paycheck or steady paycheck and benefits and all that kind of stuff, right?
For sure.
So those, like my sister, you know, like I don't got to say what they do. They live in Frisco. That's enough to know where my sister and my brother-in-law are as far as like their stature in life. So my nieces, there's 3 of them. They get everything they want.
Yeah.
So they're like just spoiled. I know they're spoiled. They're great girls. They're really, really great girls. They're a whole lot of fun, but they're spoiled as shit, you know?
Yeah.
And my girls' kids, you know, they never had a father figure role. And that's something that I've always established with them. Like, I'm never going to be your father, but I'm the man that makes your mom happy. And like, you know, what makes your mom happy is you guys. So I will be there to help her to make you guys happy and be there for you guys.
Yeah.
But they're grateful for so much less. Like, so much, like you give them, like, I don't think I see too many kids nowadays that like when their parents make them food, they're like, thank you, mommy, for making this food. Like, that's how they are. Like, they thank their mom for everything that they give. They're so happy. And like, so, you know, even little things that I give them, they're just so grateful for it. So like, I know that, and I have jokes now that like I say, at somewhat at their expense, but at the same time, it's kind of like, my parents are super worried about the amount of work it's going to be and just the obligations and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I think any relationship is naturally, it takes a lot of work to balance out and all that kind of stuff. But as far as like, all the, tedious housework, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, I got hands, I got hands in these houses and they're bred as the hardest working hands in the game. So it's like, I'm not worried because I'm like, these girls, she has 2 daughters that are 7 or 8. They already know how to wash dishes. They're learning how to do laundry. I'm like, we good, yo. Like,
Yeah,
I'm still going to be able to focus on work and shit.
Kind of skip the hard stuff. Just saying. Nah. You going up 2 steps. You're going like you're becoming a husband and like the
role.
the
Yeah,
role,
like
the
a
father
figure.
figure very
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah.
Me and my wife are just kind of like now we're just like we having kids, like we trying to have kids, like what's the deal, right? Like we're getting there.
That was my segue question. I didn't want to go too hard into the Indian like family questions too fast.
You're fine.
To the podcast.
Yeah.
But so is that? I mean, because you've been married for how long?
3 years.
3 years, and you've been together for
Like 6 years.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And we're
Don't listen to this, baby.
she's like, this motherfucker doesn't know it's 7.
Yeah,
What
I know.
happened to
You
one of
left out
those
a year,
years?
huh?
So-
COVID don't count. COVID don't count.
we were on a break. We couldn't breathe each other's hair, But so I mean, you've been together for some time. So like now the conversation's happening that you guys think that maybe you guys might spawn little 3s.
I think we're both there. I think
Okay.
we're both there at that point. Like it's just one of those things where, it just kind of happens. I need the material.
I'm telling you, bro, that is the number one way. Like I'm like grateful for that. Like, and it's funny because I have jokes about my fiance and the kids.
Yeah.
But I always run it by her, especially if it has to do with the kids.
No, of course.
I always
Of course.
run it by
Yeah.
her and like, be like, hey, but what do you think about this?
Yeah.
And so she's totally okay with me saying jokes about her. Like, and I've gone pretty personally deep in her.
It's weird.
I'm sorry, I was thrown off because like you were so casually trying to move the microphone without like making too much noise, but like the way you cupped the bottom of the
I'm like,
microphone,
I have no idea what I'm
it
doing.
was a little awkward.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make sure that is in the
Cut that
camera.
right out.
No, that's
Keep it in.
Listen, bro, I don't like to do money cuts on my podcast.
Okay.
It's more work. It's more work that way. All right.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that certain things are not missed. That's the biggest thing. but what the fuck we were talking about? Oh yeah. So like I have to run a lot more jokes by her and stuff, but she gets a little bit more sensitive if I'm making jokes about the kids.
No,
right?
of course.
So I don't have too many I don't have too many jokes about them. They're honestly I have probably more about my own nieces than I do about her kids, to be honest.
Sure.
But the few that I do have and stuff like that, she was like, okay, that's kind of funny. Like,
I mean, it's just going to be a natural progression. Like once you guys start living together and you start really experiencing the whole, like you guys are together,
real dynamic,
the real dynamic and stuff. It's just going to be natural to want to talk about it if there's things to talk about.
oh yeah,
Right,
and I know that there is. I know
Yeah.
that there is. So, I mean, either way, it's one of those things. I think like I see it like any situation. We live in a world where you have to constantly adapt to whatever the fuck is happening. So, when it comes to this situation, I'm like, we're just going to figure it out. I think any couple, right? Like, I think there is so much variables that come into play when you guys bring your lives together. I mean, even in the thought of just even the families, right? Like you having to adapt to her family and vice versa. And it's like and then when it comes to Indians, it's like, all the families have to come together and everything like that, right? So I think there's always something to figure out, and I think this is just something, it's going to be, I'm very, very confident that we are going to create the Bollywood telenovela that has never been told.
Oh yeah, that's great, man.
Yeah.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, that's how, trust me, bro. Like I got my 5-year, 10-year, 15, 20-year plans, So like, I'm 100% going to be, putting out that first script and be like, all right, which one of you Bollywood directors want to make this movie?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, so, and then, the Indian showman, the MC, the singer and stuff like that. I'm already pulling in the role that most Indians, aside from just stand up comedy, which
Right.
But you're also living up to the general standard too, because you got that day job as well, right?
Yeah, of
What is that day job?
So I'm a recruiter.
You're a recruiter.
Yeah.
Do you actually like that HR work? Do you do any interviewing, or do you?
Yeah, I mean, like the first initial like interview is me, but I'm so lax with it.
Yeah,
I'm like
yeah.
one of those guys, like you can kind of tell like where I'm at this point. It's like, as long as they're not like bullshitting on their resume,
Yeah,
they can
yeah.
kind of speak to whatever's like on the piece of paper. Because sometimes they look great on
Yeah,
paper, and then
yeah.
you're like, hey, yo, can you tell me about this? And they're like,
I didn't think you were
yeah,
gonna
like,
ask that.
they were like, we worked in the environment. Like, you're like, all right, dude. Okay, well, but yeah, no. So that's kind of like I'm always like the first interview, and then you pass it along.
Right. And yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially it's they're trying to not have to pay a full-time HR, and
Yeah.
so they get a recruiter.
Yeah.
And it's like the interim, so that the
Yeah.
organization doesn't have to worry about it. I mean, I used a few recruiters back in the day and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
I've come through actually a couple different positions and stuff that came through pretty well. But I gotta ask, because this was something that it was a topic of discussion that came through, and how do you have a college degree?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, where from and what?
I graduated from UTSA, University of Texas, San Antonio,
Uh-huh.
and I graduated with a biology degree.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I graduated.
Did you
with
work ever in the biology field?
No, I was definitely that kid that called my parents like junior year, and I was like, I don't want to be a doctor anymore. I'm not gonna take the MCAT.
Which is literally the greatest thing that any Indian parent wants to hear from their kid, of course.
I think my mom like screamed. Like she could hear like the thud of her like fainting on the ground. So
God.
no, yeah, it was, and they were like, well, what are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do? And I was like, I'll just figure it out. Let me just be like one of these regular kids and figure it out. And then when I found out that my friends at med school were still partying and stuff, I was like, oh man, you know what?
Shit,
That didn't sound. I thought it was just studying, man.
I thought y'all gave up your lives if you go to this
using your loan money to travel. I don't know. You could do that. No one told me about that. So yeah, no, I was very much like, let me graduate with a degree, and let me just kind of figure it out. Let me just kind of like, I'll take like whatever jobs, or if I take an internship, I can kind of figure it. I think that's the thing about like Indians, like we're resilient. Like you put us in a situation, like it changes. We'll figure it out. We'll navigate our way through it to where we're kind of, we're in a decent spot. So it's kind of what happened.
Well, I mean, so okay, so you actually got your degree in biology.
I did get my degree.
You got your degree in biology, and then you said, "Fuck it." And what was that road?
So I got my degree in biology. I graduated. My brother he graduated with with an econ degree from A&M. So he ended up working he had an internship at Merrill Lynch in Houston, and then from there he did all his fancy stuff. Like I don't know which way he went, but he's now he's very well off and stuff too, right? But I was like. He was like, hey, one of the guys here, there's like a specific intern group where it's like a boiler room environment, right? Where you just do cold calls all day.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And so they were like, they're just looking for kids to just cold call.
I'm like, when I'm thinking boiler room, I'm thinking like scene in Titanic where they're shoving coal and shit.
Metaphorically, it's the same thing. Have you ever seen the movie Boiler Room? Where they
yes.
They just make calls, right? And they just try to get these guys to get
yes.
interested in the stock or whatever.
Yes,
that was me.
yes.
That was me. And my very first call, I ended up getting someone interested, and then the guy that was running the internship was like, "Oh, you know what? Like, you've got like every other kid was like from Rice, they were like all these like fancy like Rice kids or from some other fancy college,
and they didn't know how much rice you eat.
They were like, they had no idea. They had no idea, and it was also because they were like all these like they had no personality on the phone, right? They were like super smart. Like I think they would have been better like." On the other side, like actually investing the money into the stock, but not the sales stuff, So I was way better at that. And then so he made me like the head of the internship at one point, which was weird because I was talking to all these fancy Rice kids, right? And they were like, are you still in college? I was like, nah. They were like, okay. And I was sleeping on my best friend's sofa at the time, and he was going to medical school. He was going to I forgot what medical school was down there or whatever, but he was going to medical school, and so I was just crashing on his sofa doing this internship at Merrill Lynch, and then from there I got a job as a commercial loan officer at a company called BMC Capital, and it was cool because these guys were doing loans like they were like this guy like my manager would like finance this loan on like an office building, like, and
so
he'd
this
be like,
is like tens of millions.
yeah,
and
dude,
shit.
he would be like, it made like 30 grand this month. I'm out for the next 3 weeks. I'd be like, oh, and I was like, okay, so I closed like a couple loans like that, but I remember the entire time like Houston was cool, but at that point I had been in Houston for like 2-3 years. I wanted to get back to Dallas. Like all my friends were in Dallas, my family was Dallas. I just kind of missed Dallas, and so one of my buddies who was working as a recruiter at a company called Tech Systems over here was like, hey, it's just like sales. It's tough. Your phone's always got to be on, but you know you're practically doing that right now. So why don't you come up here and try getting the recruiter spot? And the crazy thing is that I had partied with all the managers before like the interview and stuff. Like just randomly whenever I went back to Dallas, like that was his crew that he would go out with and just party. So like the interview was just like, oh, I know Shree. Let's just try it. Let's just give him the job. Let's just get him the job. So I got the job, and then from there I've just kind of progressed on. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like it doesn't seem like anything that's too demanding, right? That you're able to still kind of stay into the craft.
So that's so there's a difference between like staffing recruiting and then like corporate recruiting, and I do corporate recruiting now. So I was staffing, so my phone was on, like I would get calls at like 4 a.m.
I feel like corporate recruiting though is a little bit probably more targeted.
Now I work for a company specifically. I work for a company. Right now it's called Caliber Home Loans, New Res. So it's a mortgage company, and then whatever spots they have, they need to fill, like on the IT side specifically, they'll like give to me. They'll give me like 10 spots, and they'll be like, "Can you help fill us these roles?" So
Okay.
it's like kind of like that, which is it's way more relaxed than staffing, where I'm like, they're like, "Hey, you know, you're based on commission. The more people you put to work, the more money you get." Right? So that's like a totally different lifestyle.
Now, the question is, because I mean, like you have your degree in biology, so do you even need a degree for this job? Like,
I don't think. I think it's more sales experience. I think the degree, like working for like companies, always want to see.
Yeah.
Like I think at the point when I was first starting out, they wanted to see the college degree.
yeah.
And being a bio major, it was like an interesting story. Like
Yeah.
just like what we did right now. It's
Yeah.
like literally the same thing that I would tell interviewers. Right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they'd be
yeah.
like, "Oh, okay, look at you."
Insider Cloth is an innovative application to bring more clarity to all your everyday glass, screens, and professional lenses where you don't have to worry about forgetting that microfiber cloth to get the job done. Insider Cloth is an iron-based microfiber cloth to apply to any of your clothes or professional wear, which resides on the inside of your shirt. General Fabrics create microabrasions to glass surfaces and over time can reduce the clarity or visibility to your glasses, cell phone, or other glass product or screens. Super easy to apply and can be added to the inside of your common wear or even the specialty wear like men's ties or your pocket square. Go to insidercloth.com and apply the promo code DIACloth. That's DIACLOTH to get 10% off your next order. This is the last time you will ever forget your microfiber cloth. The Library Bar FTW is the most unique bar and entertainment venue located in downtown Fort Worth, Texas. From its chic library ambience, multi-level beercade gaming space, you can find the most dynamic events and party atmosphere you won't find anywhere else. Check out the Library Bar FTW at 611 Houston Street, right at the center of downtown Fort Worth.
But so I think that was actually the question I wanted to ask, because as a recruiter, right, you see exactly what college they went through. How do you track that receipt? How do you actually even, like, are you able to validate if somebody said that they went to Rice University, they went to Harvard, they went to like Princeton, like, are you able to, like, beyond their resume and them putting it on, you know, like, because I feel like, let's say somebody said, oh, I'm a Princeton grad of 2019, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I feel like beyond being like, oh, what was that experience like? Or, you know, you asking general questions, like, do you really have a way of solidifying that receipt?
So at the time, and even now, LinkedIn is like a big tool, right?
Okay.
And then so whenever you have the school that you have like on your resume, whatever, you still add it to your LinkedIn. And that goes through a verification process. Like you can't get that school symbol on your LinkedIn without them being like, yeah, he actually.
I gotta start utilizing LinkedIn.
He actually went here. So if they had like Harvard or Princeton, which those aren't the people that I was talking to. I wasn't talking to those people. But like the people that went to like Baylor or like SMU or UT Austin or something like that. Like if they had that on their LinkedIn and they got that verified, like they had that school symbol on there, I'd be like, okay, it's legit. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, because I was always curious about that because it's like there's so many people that I know that have, really fairly prestigious, like, degrees and stuff from good colleges. And it's like, man, I've applied and done so many interviews and worked at a couple different places, and not one person has asked me for like my degree or like verification of it. And I was like, that's kind of curious. That's like curious.
Yeah, I think after like a certain amount of years, it's not about like where you're from. It's kind of like what you've done, the experience, right?
Yeah,
the
right,
degree
right.
is just like, okay, this guy, he stayed in one place, he got something, he studied real hard, he got something. But then after that, it's all about like what your experience speaks for yourself, right?
Because I'm a graduate of Columbia College Chicago, which is a liberal arts school.
Yeah.
So I paid way too much money for a lot less work, pretty much. A lot of projects, a lot less tests, a lot more projects. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I guess it's provided some opportunity here and there and whatnot, but I never really thought that like anyone actually was like, oh yeah, no, it's verified. He definitely graduated from Columbia College Chicago, and
I took biochem, OChem, like all these classes that like were nightmare classes.
Yeah.
But for kids that they needed to go to medical school, right? Like they needed to get it to the next step. Like I was just like, I took these classes, whatever. It's not like I use anything about them.
Yeah.
Like I took microbio, and the only thing I remember from microbio, like not the only thing I remember because I loved that class, but like we would drop like stuff on the floor, and then we would like time how long it took for germs to get on the actual like item, right? And it was like a minute. It was like a minute and 30 seconds, like a minute before the thing was actually like infested with germs. So like now, like people are like, oh, you dropped food. People are like 5 second rule.
Yeah, 5
and I'm
second
like,
rule.
technically. Right?
Let it chill there for a second.
And then they're always
let
like, they're like,
let it marinate. Let it marinate.
They're like, a minute? I'm like, nah, you don't want to wait a minute, but.
But less than a minute, like even if it was like 10, 20 seconds.
Yeah, depending. I mean, if it's like a sterilized room, you're
right,
good.
right.
I mean, if you drop it in a fucking puddle, it's
I would imagine like an average biology class, they still got a custodial or staff that does their overnight shifts.
I'm not telling, like, if you're in a third world country, you drop something down, don't pick it up.
Yeah,
just don't, like.
That's the lesson you could take away from this podcast today is only in third world countries the 5 second rule does not apply.
Don't do it. Just don't
whatsoever.
Do it. Yeah.
But here in America, where everything is sanitized fairly properly, especially now, you can give it a good 20, 30
You got
seconds.
a chance, son.
Yeah,
you got a chance.
So, like, one question I definitely wanted to ask. I asked this to Paul. And I'm probably going to be asking this to any comedian that comes through. Excuse me. So first off, how long have you been doing comedy?
It'll be 3 years in October.
3 years. Okay. So when you decided that you wanted to go into comedy, how was that conversation with your parents? Was it more, less, or the same amount of disappointment when you told your parents you don't want to be a doctor?
No, at that point when I wanted to, 3 years, I'm turning 35 this year, so I was a grown ass man when I made the decision. You know what I'm saying? Look at me, I was a grown man.
Me too.
When I made the decision. I wasn't like, oh, I'm looking for your blessing to do comedy. I was just like, yo, I'm doing comedy now. I'm going out to open mics and stuff.
I feel you about that.
I mean, I had to get the blessing of my wife for sure. I had to make sure with the wife. That's a different hierarchy now when you're married. So
that confidence shifted with the head scratch as soon as you started talking about the
I wasn't telling her that, but she was the one that really she pushed me forward. Like she was like really supportive.
Yeah.
What happened was that I had done I was in a fraternity in college, so like in each one of these fraternities.
That's where your whiteness comes from.
Yeah, I'm a frat
motherfucker.
boy. I'm the president of the frat. You know, so-
Are you really?
Yeah, I was a frat boy president.
Shit.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
cheers, bro.
No, for real.
Well,
So-
wait, you take them rolls, cause
Dude.
another one.
Yeah, I know. So so like when these guys started getting married, right? Like you would do like a speech, right? Like
Yeah.
a best man speech, and every one of the speeches, I would just try to be funny with it. And when my brother got married, I did like this really big thing. Like I had like a ukulele. I had like this whole song that I made out, and I mean, I'm not trying to brag. It's on YouTube, but I crushed. Right? It did really well. And I remember people.
Should I pull it up? I feel like I
Nah,
want
you
to
don't
pull
need
it
to.
up.
You don't need to do that at all.
I kind of want to.
You don't
a
need to
little
do that
bit.
at all because I look at myself and I had like more hair back then. I had like a good comb
We
over.
all did.
Yeah,
I mean,
know.
come on, bro. We both can pull the fucking snapbacks
It
back.
happens
I
just
mean,
like that. It happens
We'll,
just
put,
like that.
we'll
Yeah.
put the fit back and
Yeah.
shit like that, bro. We in the same. And plus, you have a clean shave though on top, right?
Yeah, I'm like a 1 on top.
Yeah.
I'm like a
Oh,
1.
you have a 1.
I'm a 1.
You don't do a razor.
I do a 1 on top and then I do a 0 on the sides.
Oh.
So because I still have like it's like a little shadow, you know, like it's a little shadow.
You
It's
still wear a hat
it's
though.
yeah, I know. But it's-
You might as well just keep it a 1, bro.
Yeah, so the video it just went well. Like the whole performance went really well, and then I remember people were coming up to me and they were like, "Are you a comedian? Like that was really good. Are you a comedian? Are you a comedian?" At that point, I was thinking about it, and then my wife. My fiance, like she was my fiance at that time, because my brother got married in May, and then I got married in July. Like we got married the same year.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
And
So
what's the age difference between you and your
2
brother?
years.
Okay.
He's 2 years younger.
Oh shit.
She's 2 years younger. So,
Damn.
So he got married.
You let your little brother fucking get married before you, bro? Shit.
And I was out in the streets a little longer. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. No, it just happened like that. It just worked out like that. And because I remember my fiance was like, I don't want a long engagement. Because if we had done like a whatever year-long engagement, it would have been the next year, but it worked out.
Well,
Because
I told my fiance, I'm like, don't get your hopes up. It's gonna be a couple years.
no, it worked out because everything 2020, everything crapped out.
Oh,
right?
shit.
Yeah, so it worked out. We got good. With
Yeah.
the 2019, yeah. So
Thank you, COVID.
yeah, for real. So she was really supportive. She was like, let's go to open mics. Let's go out there. Let's check out open mics. So I started checking out open mics.
That's
with her.
love, dude.
Yeah, so she's super supportive.
No, that's and I love that, dude, because it's funny because I did a mic a couple weeks ago at Comedy Arena, and there was an Indian guy. It was a couple that was there, and it was an Indian guy, and I think it was his first mic ever, and he was like a little bit older, kind of looked like a Rocky Deer, you know? Like, he was like that dude, right?
Shout out Rocky.
Shout out Rocky, bro. But which I want to definitely put him on the podcast, man, because I will say and this is gonna be my one outside shout out, because usually I'm only shouting out the people in front of me, but Rocky, man, that man has been so good with the callbacks.
Oh, yeah.
He's gotten really good with it, and I want to definitely bring him on the pod just because I think it'd just be such a fun conversation. But anyways, so I had this one dude, this dude, he was there, and he was there with his wife, and I think it was his first mic, and I think I went outside to smoke or something, so like I didn't hear him, like I didn't hear all of his set. I think I hear like the latter half, and it was, chill. Like it was like, you can tell it was like a first time mic or whatever. But his girl came out to support him, right? And so like I was able to do some crowd work with that,
Yeah.
and just work it in. And I'm like, hey, are you guys married? Are you guys dating? And they're like, oh, we're married. I was like, all right, whose idea was it to come to the mic? And then he was like, well, it was actually my wife who pushed me to come to the open mic.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, shit. I'm like, that is, you keep the fuck out of her. Like
Yeah,
that
for
is that's
sure.
love. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, and like, it wasn't like my girl. I mean, we had been having a long distance relationship, but she was hella supportive. It wasn't like, you need to do this. It was more so like, I'm like, babe, I think I want to now do stand up. Like now I want to do stand up. Cause I don't know if you know this. I actually graduated from Second City doing improv.
Yeah, we talked about it one time.
Yeah. So like during that time, I did maybe 5 or 6 stand-up open mics, like 5-minute sets in Chicago. And when I went for those, and I was working proficiently as an MC, like I had a good career. I mean, my career is solid right now. But during those times, I was like, MCs, a lot of it, like I don't have a script. Everything is pretty much like I have a standard timeline, but I'm really working off the top of the dome. So I'm like, all right, what can I do like unprepared for 5 minutes? So that I went in there each time not writing shit and just going in completely unprepared. But I went in there purposely to fail because I knew that the biggest hurdle when it came to comedy was not getting the laughs and feeling that awkwardness and the dead silence and just being like, well, your shit's just not going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to feel that. I wanted to live in that, you know? And I think that is, a big catalyst to my confidence in my awkward moments now, right? Like
Right.
when I go into doing my sets and stuff, even if my material, I'm like, oh, this is fucking genius and shit,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
it goes nowhere, you know.
Yeah.
But like I know how to live in that awkwardness now, you know. And so now I'm writing like a fuck ton every single fucking day. I'm writing and shit, or like random moments. I'm like, all right, hold on, and I'm just like writing it down, you know. But when it came to my girl, like, you know, she's been hella fucking supportive, even especially with the fucking jokes that I don't think I've ever heard you really say a joke about your wife though.
When I first started, I did some stuff.
Okay.
And then, yeah, when I first started, I had this one joke, and I was that guy that was, I got put on shows fairly early. Shout out Raj Sharma. He used to have a show at the Addison Improv called Indians at the Improv.
And he's doing great right now.
He's doing great.
Yeah.
He's killing it, right? But he had this show called Indians at the Improv, and like 6 months in, he was like, "You got like 5 minutes?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then he was like, "Get on the show. Come on, be on the show." And that was like my first time being on a show like at the Addison Improv, and I did. And it went really well. Like I had my friends come out, and it was a really good show. I remember getting an applause break, and I was like, "Wow, this is crazy." But I was that guy that I had this one joke, and it was my closer. But I would say like, you know, almost. And it's so weird to think back on your very first jokes.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's cringy right now, but
Yeah.
I was like, you know, when you find that someone, you know, that's perfect for you, right? Like, you know, you guys love together, you stay together. But picking a place to eat's a hard fucking time, right?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. And I'd be like, ladies, I was like, it's the same song and dance. Ladies, you know the lyrics.
Yeah.
Guys, you do too. And I would break out and it's like, what you want? I don't know. What you want? And I would do this whole thing.
That's a good bit though.
Yeah, I would do this whole
Why
thing.
don't you bring that back, dude?
I don't know, man.
That's
It's just the progression of your writing or whatever.
I guess.
because,
But that's a good bit though, because you know what, man, is I've been seeing a trend. Musical comedy goes so far.
They do. It
It goes
does.
really,
It does.
really
And I
far.
have it recorded too. I have it recorded. Again, this is like I wasn't wearing the hat. I had like a little beard. I was kind of like, it was not as big as this. It was like a little bit more trimmed up. And I had like this comb over going on. And I was like, what happened to that guy? You know, like, but yeah, I used to do, that was like the one time, like the couple times that I would talk about my wife or whatever. And then it became more, I was like, hey, you know what? Like when you're writing and I'm a host, right? Like that's like the position that I'm doing at most of these clubs is I'm hosting. So like when you're hosting, your job is like get the energy up, you know, break the crowd, like bring the energy up for the crowd, like manage the show, bring the people on, bring the energy up. And if the crowd gets to know you a little bit and you have a good set, that's just the cherry on top. And how is the crowd going to get to know you? You got to talk about yourself a little bit, right?
Yeah,
Like
right,
I was
right.
doing a lot of observational like
Yeah.
bits when I first started. I was doing like observational stuff. And then I got into more like, oh, okay, hey, you know what? I'm from India. You know, like my dad's from India. Like I think you've heard that shrooms joke or whatever, right? Like my dad would tell me stories about like, you know, like I remember when the first TV was bought in our neighborhood. And
I think I do, but shroom. I don't know.
so I would follow up and I'd be like, I don't have stories like that. Just tell my kid, right?
yeah.
Like I remember the first time I tried shrooms.
Yeah.
You know? So those are like those transitions.
Okay, yeah, I did not know.
Yeah, so it's just like transitions like that. Like, so now I'm like all about like, oh, I want them to get to know me. Like, and that starts with me like coming to America.
Yeah.
Like being born in India, coming to America. So now I'm still telling that story because there's like, I have all of these memories and instances where I'm like, oh, that could be a bit. Like, I got to write this out. I got to figure this out. I'm still kind of talking about like the first half of my life, but I know at some point I'm going to start to talk about this later part of my life, like where I am married, like what it was like. Now I'm starting to talk about it. Like I have this bit now where I'm like, you know, like I'm married. The scariest part about our marriage, like the scariest part about our relationship is when we combine finances, you know, because she's an accountant, right? She likes talking about like maximizing her 401k. I'm, you know, stoner. I like maximizing my high on 420.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
so it's like
yeah.
it's like different things like that.
Yeah, right.
So you would kind of get like that dynamic. I'm still like, I know that I'll start to write stuff about it, and I'll get there. But I feel like I have so much more to tell about just like
Oh yeah.
the first half of my like the immigrant story.
Yeah,
the Lost in Translation.
Yeah,
stuff.
right.
Yeah,
I will say though, you and I do share a childhood relevance. I mean, I was born in Chicago, but you and I have one commonality, and I only learned this from your bit, but fucking Kuman.
oh yeah,
Fucking Kuman, bro.
Yeah.
Like, dude, and I'm fucking terrible at math.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you good at math?
no, not at all.
Okay. So that's why we're in the entertainment business,
yeah,
because it's like
100%.
we're the Indians that cannot do your taxes for the
Yeah.
life of us, right? And so my parents put me in Kuman, and so like when I remember when you're doing that bit, I was like, oh yeah, I can be his friend, like, like,
No.
But like it was funny because I remember my dad. I don't know if your dad used to do this, but my dad would be like, you'd have to give me a ride to the Kuman Center and shit. Which I also hate their logo. I hate their
Oh, the
logo.
smiley face?
It's not even a smiley
just
face,
like a
bro.
kid
It's
that's
like,
like-
it's the kid who doesn't want to do math. That's
Yeah.
that's the fucking face.
No,
It's not
for
even
sure.
a smiley face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the kid who doesn't know how to draw, who also doesn't want to do math.
Yeah.
That is their fucking logo, right? But my dad used to bring me, and then before he would go, or we would like have to leave, he'd be like, "Okay, Shawn, come on for the Kumar."
Yeah, I know, I
would-
hated that.
Would your dad do that?
Yeah, no, I mean it was like there'd be times where they'd be like, "Hey, get in the car, we're gonna go someplace." And they did,
Fuck, that's dirty.
yeah, I know they did it so dirty. So many
dirty.
times. I did Kuman, and then I did this other thing, which was big back in Dallas back in the day, and it was they used to just call it Chinese math, and we would go to the
Fuck that shit. I would
Chinese math. We
I
would
definitely
go.
would not
We
do
would go
that.
to.
Would they give you that fucking
after, like,
little
our-
fucking grid and shit?
Well, we would go to after our little like Hindu Sunday school. Like all these kids would round up. Like they would round up all these kids, and then we would go to another school, like an actual school, where it was run by like this Chinese Association of Dallas or whatever, and it was all these Asian kids and it was like different levels, just like Kumon, and they would teach you math, and it was hard as hell. And we were like there would always be like only like 5 or 6 Indian kids surrounded by all these other Asian kids, specifically Chinese, is what they call Chinese math, right? And my little brother, like out of our group of 3, like my little brother Sai, our family friend Ravi, and then me, Sinath would be the only one to pass these quizzes and tests, and they'd be like, and they.
What's wrong with you, Sri?
Yeah, they'd be like, the lowest score.
Why can't you be like your little brother?
The lowest score is 12. And I'd be like, oh, God, please don't tell me I got to 12. Please don't tell me I got to 12, bro. And then we like, you flip your paper over and you see like the 1 at the beginning. You'd be like, yeah, I don't need to see that. I don't need to see it. Like, it was rough, bro. I hated it. English? No problem. English, no problem. But my parents never cared about that. They were like, what do you like?
English, literature, fuck. Yeah, those great. Those are my main subjects. I think. Yeah. So I mean, like, I think that mentality wise, you and I are actually very similar in that boat. Which I think for me, when you were actually the first host after I moved to Texas, or moved to Dallas. And I started doing stand-up as of last December. Now, when I started, I actually started going to Green Elephant on Tuesdays.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the first place I went to. I was the only fucking stand-up comedian that was there. And I kind of do that. Like, I'll go to music open mics. I don't go to Green Elephant anymore. But
Buzz Brews is a good one.
Buzz and Brews?
The Monday open mic that Michelle runs at Buzz Brews. It's like a music. It's like an everything open mic.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's mostly musicians that go there and stuff.
Like musicians.
Have you been to
poetry.
George's at Comedy Arena on Mondays?
Yeah, I went there last Monday.
Dude, it's great.
It's a packed out.
Yeah,
night.
it's a really great house, and like you're the best open mic you can go to is the one that pulls in a crowd that's not
Yeah.
comedians, right? And
No,
so.
sure.
Like, I got to give shout out to him, and he's also got an episode, and that's how me and him really connected and got close and stuff. But yeah, I mean, he made things happen. But I've been going to a lot more music open mics because will be the only comedian, and I think that like that's the challenge. Like now, like tonight, I have my karaoke night that I do, but I all my karaoke nights, even if the fucking venue's like, no, don't have guys try and do stand up, like this is not the crowd for it. I'm like, that's why I want them to do stand up. I'm like, because like there's an element I feel like in the art of performing, of being able to win over the crowd that's not expecting to hear what you have to say. You know what I'm saying? Like karaoke is, for the most part, it's bar shenanigans. They go crazy when they happen to hear that I can sing, or like that other person you didn't expect he sings. But the thing in karaoke is no one gives a shit how good you are. They just want to see that performance. So that's
Right.
really what it is. But when you bring that stand up element, or you give somebody 4 or 5 minutes, at a karaoke thing, right? Like it's the sometimes most gut wrenching shit, because like the crowd, as soon as they know that you're doing like stand up, they just immediately start they just start talking,
They,
and
like, turn around.
They turn around, like
Yeah.
all that kind of shit. But there's been a handful of times where myself or like a few other comics have gone up and they won over the crowd. They got them to fucking shut the fuck up, or like they were in the middle of a conversation and that guy said something and got like a good realm of laughs, and then they turn around and be like, hold on, I just want to hear what this guy had to say. Like that right there, that's what you want to fucking aim for. And I think that is like, if you're able to win over the crowd that doesn't want to hear you, then when you put yourself in front of the crowd, like at the comedy club that is ready for you, then it's easy to kill. Like, you know what I mean?
That's the hurdle of like, so that's the bar mic hurdle, right? Like you're like, cause you're going to a place, people are just either watching the game, they're chilling with their friends, they're drinking, you're up on stage, whatever. And if you can get them to give you their time and attention for like that 4 or 5 minutes that you're up on stage, and you do well, that means you're winning. Because that if you translate that to a comedy open club mic, like you do that same set and you do it at an open mic at a comedy club where people are actually coming to listen to you, right? And that again works out really well. That's like, you're like, yo, this worked out here, this worked out there. Let me bring it to the show.
Because like, again, yes, because it's exactly that. Because you can have that solid set at the comedy club, right?
Yeah.
And you do it at the bar,
Yeah.
and it don't go shit.
It doesn't go backwards.
But
Yeah.
if you do well at the bar,
Yeah.
you're gonna kill it at the comedy club. You know what I mean?
No,
So
100%.
like, I've been finding that dynamic a little bit, because it's like, listen, bro, like if I'm gonna go into this, like let it be challenging. This is 100%. So stand up is I call it the last peg on my showman wheel of skills, right?
Right.
The reason why I call myself a showman is because I'm not going to sit there and tell you like, oh, I'm an MC and I can sing and I'm DJ and I do comedy, and like I'm not going to, and I do media production. Like I'm not going to sit there and tell you all this kind of stuff. Now, granted, like when I tell people I am a showman, I still have to explain what that is,
Yeah.
But I'm not centralized. Like before, I was just an MC, I was an MC who knew how to sing. I was an MC who can sing, but I also know how to DJ, and eventually being the man that like actually understands the business, that's a whole different story, because the performer usually doesn't want to have to deal with the business at all. And so like, that's why I'm really grateful for my team with Do It All, because I mean, I have myself and then DJ Illis, Sanu, who I'm telling you right now, bro, if you ever end up seeing me and him on a wedding, like especially an Indian wedding, you'd be like, bro, there's nobody fucking that's doing this fucking shit. Like, and if you are out there, any Indians especially, are doing weddings the way we do as the MC, singer, DJ, drummer, beatboxing, all that kind of stuff, like we have business to give you. Like, we're not trying to be your competition. We have business to give. But that, I'm sorry for blowing us up. But anyways.
Call them out, son.
Like having that, repertoire and having the experience I had, but understanding the business aspect, that's really what makes me a showman, is because understanding the overhead and the cost and all that kind of stuff, especially after doing Metro Icon, which is that singing competition last year. Like that was like easily over 20-30 grand just out of my pocket in cash money that I had to put down, not even in considering my fucking time and just other general investment and all that kind of stuff. So like, and I still had to pay out like, musicians and videographers and photographers and, all the graphic designers and printing out flyers and all that kind of stuff. Like, so I understand the variables of the business, but I'm a performer, I'm an entertainer. And So, you know, I've been loving this world of stand up because, you know, when it comes to like, you know, with the singing competition, that was for karaoke singers. That was to bring the artists to the karaoke or karaoke singers. And karaoke is a very inclusive community. Comedy is not, you know, and
Yeah.
it's a very exclusive community. And I knew what I was getting myself into. I think that was my edge to any other new comedian coming into the scene, is that I knew exactly where the community sat, where like you're not going to meet me for the first time and I'm like, oh, I'm fresh into comedy, and they're just going to accept you. Like I
Yeah.
knew right away, like I have to earn my fucking keep. I
Yeah.
have to, in order for them to even just remember my name, I have to earn my keep. And I'm constantly, the one thing I'm actually loving about this is that I'm constantly meeting comedians that are going to naturally underestimate me. And I'm like, please do. You know what I mean? I'm
Right.
very much in that world. But I got to say, though, to your credit, man, like when I came in here, dude, like it was very, very uplifting for me to see the brown man hosting the comedy night, right? Well, because this was, I mean, I started in December, mid-December. It was actually right after Metro Icon finished. So that's when I started going to Mike's. And then it was after the new year. It was like third week of January or fourth week of January. And that's where I went to TK's and I saw you there.
Yeah.
And so see the brown man hosting, I was like, oh, fuck yeah, you know, let's go. And then I met Arun, and then I met Rocky, and I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Like, yo, there's actually like a scene of brown dudes that are fucking in this game.
Yeah.
And for me, dude, like as a man who feels like a lone wolf in the industry that I'm in, with the community I'm part of, like it was a beautiful thing to see. And you were very well receptive to me, and like didn't dismiss me like right away. Like you were hella fucking nice. Like, but like, you know, it was, you know, I remembered you remembered me from the second time I saw you, and it was just kind of like, all right, cool. Like it's been really copacetic since then. And so, I mean, dude, I appreciate what you've been bringing to the game, and the presence that you've been in the comedy realm. It's been awesome, man.
No,
Like,
I appreciate that. And it's always, you know, the community, Dallas is, you know, being an Indian in the Dallas community, like an Indian comic in the Dallas in our little scene, it's like it's like a good thing because we're like all like, hey, you know, we'll see each other, we'll dab each other up or whatever, right? Like that sort of thing. I think the other thing that's special about our scene is that everybody's kind of got a different story. Everybody's kind of got a different voice. None of us talk about the same stuff, right? And it's always like something that you kind of think about. You're like, you know, an Indian guy comes into the scene, I won't lie to you. I'm like, okay, let's see. Is this guy going to talk about the same shit that I'm talking about? Because that's like a thing, right? Like, because you're like, okay, if we're going to be put on the same shows, you know, how am I going to differentiate myself from the next other Indian guy? And the crazy thing is like people will be like, there's a lot of Indian comics here, and you'll be like, no, there's like 6 of us, and there's like 1,500 white guys. You know, like why do people never say there's a lot of white guys? I mean, you know, there's 6 Indian comics. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, there's a lot of Indian comics. And I think it's because they always see us at the same places, right? And I'm not trying to say anything. It's just that those places are the places that people want to be seen at. Like you work really hard to get to that club level.
Yeah.
To, like, you know, you're constantly writing, you're putting pen to paper, you're working stuff out, right? And when I first started, Arun was the one. Like I remember when I first started, I came to the open mic like 3 or 4 weeks and I didn't do anything. I just watched. And then Arun, and then me and Arun kind of had this small conversation, and he remembered me from like the very first time. And then when I went up on stage, and I don't know what he was doing at Hyenas, because I was up at stage like the first time I went on, it was like 2:30 a.m. You know, there's like,
oh, was it their open mic?
yeah, it was an open mic.
And
like,
you got what, 3 minutes?
there was like 3 minutes.
Yeah,
it was
dude.
like 3 minutes, 2:30 a.m.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
like 2 disgruntled comics in the audience, and you like have to work your way up.
Yeah, yeah,
You
right,
kind of
right.
have to definitely work your way up, and that's where the exclusivity part comes in. I think it's because like even when I met Arun, and I remember I was like, man, Arun is so good, right? But I was like, and I want to be kind of part of that crew. I wanted him to acknowledge me like as a good comedian, but I know I have to earn it. I have to get to that point. So I'm just gonna put my head down, go to open mics, keep putting my pen to paper, and just kind of keep getting out there.
And you know what, man? Like, I gotta say, actually, like, I wouldn't have thought that Arun was doing it before you. Like to see the dynamic. Actually, I think that you definitely have actually earned that badge, because I kind of saw you guys very much in a very equivalent space. Which I don't know how Arun's gonna feel about that. Like,
you get him on the episode, you talk about it, dog.
he's like, "What the fuck did you say about that?"
Bloody Boston. No, yeah. So Arun had been doing it from DC, and then from DC, because he had started. I think he's. I don't know how many years, but I want to say like 6 or 7 years in the game, and he had started in DC, which is like, again, another comedy mecca.
Yeah,
right. We're
yeah.
talking about like Chappelle and Pat
Yeah,
Oswalt,
right,
all
right,
these
right.
people, right? And then he came to Dallas, and then it was here. I think he really like grew as a comic, and he like helped me out, and he was surrounded by people like, you know, one of our buddies, Pung, right? Pung's like
Pung Dong, bro.
Pung Dong passed at the Comedy Cellar,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like, so it's like to see people here from Dallas to go all the way up to the New York Comedy Cellar and get passed, and now doing shows at the Comedy Cellar.
Right,
like,
right.
It just adds like this thing where like, oh, you know what? I want to get to that level too. Like I want to work hard. I'm going to keep my head down. That's what
and that's how I feel right now, because it's like, I think now I'm at a point where I think that full fearlessness has come in, as far as like, you know, like you said, like, you know, when I told my parents, it's not like I didn't ask for their blessing. I just told them I'm doing it. And I'm like, that's exactly what I did, like with my parents, right? And so like my you know, now it's funny, my parents literally right at this moment are in the process of, they're driving and to move down to Dallas. Like the movers picked up their shit yesterday.
Oh, wow.
And they are on their way to Memphis, and then tomorrow they will be going to I have to meet them at their house in Little Elm that they just purchased.
Oh,
right?
nice. Look at that.
And so, you know, it's like, I didn't ask for it, but like, you know, my mom was like, okay, next Wednesday, we have the priest who's coming to the house to bless the house.
Yeah.
And it's going to be at 8 p.m. I'm like, Mom, that's when the mics start, you know, like, and like, I've been loving that, because like before I was going in, you know, I was doing karaoke. Karaoke is how I stayed sharp to the stage, sharp to the craft, worked on my crowd work, worked on music and all that kind of stuff. Now, open mics now, that's the realm and world that I live in, because, you know, when you work as an MC, like a professional MC, and you're primarily doing Indian, you know, weddings and all that kind of stuff, it's like you have to be so calculated in your presentation. You have to be and now, as an MC, I'm known as the savage MC, because I'm calling out Indian uncles and aunties on their bullshit at the weddings, right? Like literally reminding them, do you understand why you're here? Do you realize it's not about you? I could care less about how happy you are to be here.
Yeah.
Like my job is for the bride and groom, right? And Indian people are notorious for forgetting their fucking role at a wedding. You know, like because they think it's the privilege for like the family, the bride and groom, that they're there, which it's so fucking reverse. It's a privilege that you are there celebrating for their event, right?
Right.
And so I have to remind people so much of why they're there, especially at Indian weddings. And some people, like, they'll get like fucking embarrassed and shit. And I'd be like, you know what? Yeah, you should tell your, you know, feelings to the bride and groom. Tell them why I had to call you out, you know, for not listening to sit down when the reception's about to start, when I've announced 5-6 times, hey, we're about to start, get seated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I've ran up to like uncles and aunties, like, and be like, and they're still taking their WhatsApp group photos and all that kind of shit at their tables, and literally everyone's seated except them. And I was like, I got a question to ask. Do you have kids? Because whether you have kids or grandkids, they're not allowed to listen to you no more. That's what you guys have earned from now on. I was like, if they're bad listeners, it's because they learned it from you. Yeah. You know, and like, you laugh because you're like, who the fuck would talk to Indian uncles and aunties like that, you know? And for me, it's like, I have to understand that, like, if I'm going to be a pioneer within this game, I have to act differently. And my biggest thing too is like, I also don't let like uncles and aunties like talk down to me. I'm like, you fucking had no role in raising me.
Yeah.
Like, you don't pay any of my bills. I'm a grown ass man. I pay my taxes just like you do, you know?
Right.
So like, if you're going to talk to me like a grown man. Don't talk to me like a little boy, because I'm working right now. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
for
not,
sure.
you know what I mean? And so like you know, a lot of uncles and aunties are not ready for that. And I think that has been actually my growth. That's been my growth in the industry and how I've been able to keep a working business going, because, you know, I'm able to do the hard job that most kids are afraid to do. And I
Right.
think, you know, for any Indian that's going into stand-up comedy, that for me right there is like, yo, give them that rose right away, because that is instantly something that like the parents are never going to be like, they support. Like my parents only supported me once their church friends saw me at the wedding and would go back to my parents like, oh, Shawn was so good.
Yeah,
He was so good. And that's the only time they believe. And I told my parents that. I had to call them out on that. You know, like,
Right.
you guys didn't believe in me when I,
Yeah, no,
you know what I
I
mean?
know, I know, I feel you.
You just wanted to see me do it. And as soon as I'm doing it and everyone's telling you, wow, Shawn is doing it, then they're like, oh, then that's when their pride starts to uplift. But again, it's like you can't fault them for having that mentality and the way it is, right? It's like that self-awareness, but awareness within your environment as well.
For sure.
So anyways, man, like I have to, you know, say, man, like, thank you, man, for what you've contributed to, like, being part of the tribe, but contributing to this scene that as an artist, as a showman that plays so many different talents and roles. I know the difficulty of stand-up comedy. And I've been literally sharing to people that stand-up 100% is the hardest art form. It is the most difficult art form, for sure.
Yeah.
Because I look at it in business. What is the most detrimental, the most difficult, the most struggling part of any business? It's people. It's your customers, it's your employees, it's always people. And stand-up comedy is literally built on just serving people, is just delivering for people, and being part of the community that breeds insecurity. Like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like literally cooks it up and fucking serves it to you and shit
100%.
like that. To see the role that you have played in this game in the very short time that I've known you, man, it's inspiring. It's like, for me, like I fucking love it, dude. So I gotta give you your credit where credit's due, man, because you're a real one for sure, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's always nice to hear that. I mean, we're at the end of the day, like most comics are like, you know, we're brothers in arms kind of thing, right? Like we're all doing the same thing. We're all trying to get to the same place,
Yeah.
right? I think there's like little intricacies, like there's like little things for everybody in there. Like everybody's kind of got a chip on their shoulder, right? Like you said, like the whole, you know, like the silent supporter things, right? Like it's only when
Only when you have that calamity or clout that then they're gonna
like,
show
they're
up.
gonna start showing up. But I mean, again, but then there's like the whole opposite side. There's people that are actually that support you 100%, like from the very beginning, like your boys, your people that are just like, nah, you do it, keep doing it. Like it's really easy to be supportive when things are going really well.
Yeah.
Right. It's when you know you have like four like shitty shows in a row and you're like my joke about garlic didn't work, you know, like why didn't they like my garlic joke, you know, and then they're the people that are like, nah, keep going.
Yeah, that's funny you said that, because when I talked to TK, he was like, he told me he took like a 2-3 year break because he had 4 bad shows in a row. And that's like that's going to be on the episode when you come in.
Yeah.
Well, you know. But that was, you know, I know there's a lot of comedians, and I think that's also a big part of why comedians are not going to give you, like, they're not going to acknowledge you so much right away, because they know how many people be like, I think I can be funny and I can just go to
100%.
comedy, and then they go to that open mic and they bomb, and then they never see them again. It's like,
Yeah,
why
100%.
why you need to even build that relationship with you? Because let me see you actually taking this shit seriously, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's the people that you know the guys that like suffer through the bomb. Like I have been the last like 5-6 weeks for me, like figuring out this next 5 minutes has been kind of tough, right? Because you're like, oh, there's something funny there. You yourself know, like you're like, hey, I know, gut feeling, there's something funny there. The first time you say it, it's not funny. But there's like, you know, people kind of get like an ink, like you feel yourself like, oh, okay, I've started to work it out, like, but you've got to go like after like, you know, it could be like 2-3 weeks of mics until you work out that entire way that you want to say. And I just got to the point, like yesterday, it finally clicked at Fort Worth Hyenas open mic, you know, like when I was up, like the way I wanted to say it, and it hit. And then I messed up my very last joke, but everybody laughed at that because they're all assholes. And then But I remember I remember getting off stage and I was like, whatever. But that part that I've been trying to work on, trying to figure it out, dude, it took me like 4 weeks to figure it out.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was constant bombing for
Yeah,
like
yeah,
4
yeah,
weeks.
yeah, yeah.
But this like one random Thursday, it clicked, it worked. I recorded it. It's gonna work. It's gonna figure itself out. Like going through that period of bombing, that period of like, hey, it doesn't work, it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then finally figuring it out working. I know guys that like will stop doing jokes after like 3 times. Like 3 or 4 times they're like, it's not working, I'm gonna stop doing it. And I'm like, no, there's something funny there. Don't throw it away. You just have to keep. You have to come at it at a different angle. That's where I'm like. That's where like our bond together is.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like that's where we come, because I'm like, hey, you know what? This guy's trying. Like
Yeah.
he's not giving up on this subject.
Yeah, right.
He's not giving up on the subject. I listened to a podcast with Mark Normand, and he was talking about his joke about he was talking about some joke about sluts. All right, something about sluts or whatever.
Yeah.
He has this joke about comedy, and then but he told me in the podcast, he said that he went through 8 months of bond. Like he worked that joke out for 8 months. And I was like, yo, Mark Normand, one of the guys that's one of the best writers.
Right now, he's fucking blowing up.
One of the best
and I
writers
know
in the
he's
game.
been doing it for a while.
Been doing it for a while.
Yeah,
Best
yeah.
writers in the game. And if he's saying that he's working on something for 8 months, how can I
Stop.
How can I stop working on something after
How
like
can I stop?
5 times? You know
How
what I
can
mean?
she slap?
Yeah, exactly.
You
It's
know?
exactly like that. It's like how
No,
can she,
I feel you on that, dude, because so this is where I feel like my edge came through within this game, because as an MC, I know it's not about what I say, it's about how I say it.
yeah.
And that is a golden rule for MCing, because you can present something one way and say this pretty much the same thing, and you just say it a little bit differently, and it's so much more well received. And that is pretty much the same equivalence to comedy. Like you can have that joke, the material is there, the substance is there, and you're like, I fucking know this is funny. And then you're saying it, and the way you're delivering it is not being received at all. And then you just shift a little bit of that writing, that approach, that setup, and then work to that delivery and that
You
punchline.
inflect
Right.
at a different spot.
Exactly.
You know, you
Yep.
emphasize at a different spot. Like, and when I first started, I'd be like, dude, this guy works on the same shit like 4 months. Like I haven't seen anything new, right? But now I'm starting to understand. I'm like, oh, maybe there are times when you're like, okay, he's definitely doing something different. Right. And then there are times when those people are doing the same thing, they're just doing the same thing. But then you can tell the difference between people that are actually trying something new and the guys that are like working on the same thing, trying to figure it out and getting it right for the stage or whatever, trying to like, that's the respect factor that I'm starting to grow. Like I'm starting to appreciate for other people, like that I'm starting to see, like even myself, like now I'm like, okay, I'm definitely that guy that's like 5 weeks of the same thing, but I'm just trying to figure it out. Like, how do I do this? How do I do this? Because there's something funny there. I don't want to give up on that. And that's where I think like, you know, there's that, like, if I see someone else doing that too, I'm like, hey, you know what? The guy's in the game. He's putting his head down, his pen to paper. Like, I appreciate that. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
And you see that. Like, I think people think, you know, Dallas is such an underrated comedy scene.
Dude, underrated entertainment scene
Yeah,
overall, like the art scene, entertainment scene, and that's a big part of the competition that I put on, is because people sleep on Dallas, right?
Yeah, there's killers in the game here.
It's mad, and and it's like the same thing. I look at Fort Worth, right? Like Dallas talks shit about Fort Worth talks shit about Dallas, right? And it's like Fort Worth is a little bit more dead set on fuck Dallas, right? Dallas just like whatever, Fort Worth, right? But like people sleep on the scene here because they have a mentality of Dallas like 5-6 years ago and beyond, right? And me being from Chicago, being this huge hub of talent and all that kind of stuff, since I've been here, I'm like, yo, people are fucking sleeping on this place. There is so much fucking vibrancy down here. I mean, not just even in comedy, but in comedy, I was like, yo, there's like, I've been just traveling going, I'm like, let me check out this mic. Let me check out this mic. Let me check out this mic. I'm like, and I'm meeting different people. There's people now I feel like I've gotten into the game like 9-10 months in, where like, oh, hey, what's up there? Yo, that's Shawn Kay. And then they kind of know me because they've been seeing me routinely at these various mics. But people have no idea the amount of talent that's coming through here, right? And you know, like people, you know, the world knows about like Houston, because Beyonce came from Houston, and there's a lot of music artists that come in here. Like, and that was a big thing about Dallas. And there's not that many music artists. And Erykah Badu came from here, but how many people know that, right? So my thing right now with what I know I'm capable of, I'm 100% now moving into the movement of trying to really highlight the talents that are coming in here. That competition for Metro Icon was one part of that. But now that I'm in stand-up, like, I really want to fucking let people, the world, know, like, the talents that are coming in here. Now, granted, like, comedy is a very political game. It's a very, very political game that I knew very much so. Because, like, I'm pretty sure you can relate, that you have seen some shows that have the host or the producer have put on their comedian friends that they have a close personal relationship, and you're like, I would fucking smash 5 minutes on this dude, 100%. Like, I'm pretty sure that you have seen a couple guys on stage, and you're like, I would 100% win this crowd a lot harder than.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's the name of the game. I think it comes with
right, exactly.
I think it comes with the territory.
Yeah,
right, because you're always like, you're in comedy. You're always like the one thing that we always want is like a great crowd. Right, and if you get the great crowd and you see like someone with a great crowd and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? You're like, man, put me in, coach. Like, just send me in, bro. But I think the other part about that is that you have to. I learned a long time ago, man. Comedy not fair.
Yeah, right? Comedy not fair. Yo, 100%.
Comedy's not fair at all.
I'm putting that on a shirt.
Comedy's not fair at all. It's
I'm putting that on a shirt. I want to make a merch line. Another one of my boys, Blue Label Johnny, is another Malayali guy and I had him on the podcast. He said a comment and he's like, "This is my mom used to say to me all the time, and I want to put on a shirt." He's like, "My mom used to say to me all the time, number one useless." How good is that, right? Yeah. So it's like, comedy not fair. That is the most truest fucking statement, man.
It's just not. It's just you. When you get your chance to do something, own it, and then the other time just work, because you're gonna. That's just how it is. Mm-hmm. When I first started, man, I remember, I don't know who it was that told me this, and it was probably one of the older guys, but it was I think it could have been both of them. I probably heard it from either Paul or Raj, right? And these guys are like the OG Indian comics of the scene. Mm-hmm. The guys that have actually done stuff, JFL, Laugh Factory, Specials, all that, Comedy Central, all that sort of good stuff. And they were like, hey, you're in this game. You're an Indian comic. People, especially Indians, your crowd, they're never gonna accept you as just a guy that's like getting better, right? Like, hey, he was here, now he's here, whatever. They're always gonna expect you. They're always gonna compare you to who? Mm-hmm. The OG Russell Peters. Right. Overnight, we saw Russell Peters blow the hell up, right? Mm-hmm. 2015.
Started YouTube, yeah.
He was the first viral comedian on YouTube, and so he blew up. And so everybody's always going to compare you to the success of other Indians in the game, right? They're never going to be like, oh, he's figuring it out. He's on his journey right now. Yeah. It's either here or here. Yep. And you can tell, like, that's how it is sometimes. Like, that's just how it is. I think maybe sometimes that's changing because maybe, like, you've got social media now, TikTok and Instagram, putting out our sketches and clips and stuff. Yeah. But they were like, it's always going to be harder for you, and especially in a scene where, like the Addison Improv, they've got their go-to Indian guys. Why would they pick a Shree when they could get Paul or Raj?
Yeah.
Why would?
Well, I'll say Nimesh Patel is coming up.
Yeah, Nimesh Patel. Well, I mean, he's already.
I have his autograph. I have a.
He's already up. He's selling. He's going to be. He was at the Addison Improv.
Yeah,
like a couple months ago.
I saw him there. That's where I met Kirsty Hayden.
Yeah, and now he's coming where? To the Majestic Theater.
Yeah,
he's already made that. Now
he's made that transition.
He's made that leap to the theaters. Yeah. And he was already a big deal. Like he's the first Indian comedy writer for SNL.
Yeah.
And then, writing for Chris Rock at the Oscars and all this sort of good stuff. Like, he had his clout behind him.
Yeah, right.
I think people were just now like
they're only learning about it now. They're only learning
about it now, right? Because the kid's been on Joe Rogan and everything. Like, and Joe Rogan, like, no matter what you think about Joe Rogan, like whatever the podcast is and all the controversial stuff that he does, like being on Joe Rogan now is like almost being on like Larry King Live, like the Johnny Carson, right? Like once you're on Joe, you just blow up.
And that's hours
that's
of getting
that's
to
like
you.
4 hours.
Yeah,
man.
you're right.
Yeah.
You know, and like, there's no other medium that's gonna give you that. I know we're kind of like, this is how much fun the pod is, right? So, but yeah, I 100% feel where you're going with this, man. Because yeah, this is a very fickle game, but you know, if you're in it, be in it, and don't take. I'm a very win some or learn some type of guy. If you like. I always test people too. Like, you either win some and if people say lose some, I'm like, you a bitch. You know, like, you know, because it's like, because you know, like, the fact of the matter is that you have to learn from your losses, and that in this game, there's so many fucking losses,
100%.
and so even when you're winning, you're gonna be losing. So either way, man, like, I know I know that you just finally saw the time card. I was just gonna remind you right now. Fact of the matter is, I'm surprised that you didn't say one thing about me even changing my shirt, because you're wearing your Superman shirt and I changed into a Batman shirt, and you didn't.
I didn't notice.
You
all.
did not.
I'm not gonna
You
notice
did
it. Those are bad on my part as a comedian. I should notice details like that. Could have riffed a couple things on that.
We could have, you know, this is
yeah.
I listen, bro. I pay attention to details, dog.
I was just trying to. I was putting it all for the podcast.
No.
Yeah,
You're right. Of course.
Yeah.
But listen, man. I appreciate you coming through, dude. This was a fucking awesome. I knew this was going to be a fun conversation, but this really.
Yeah, time flew by.
Yeah, I'm glad. It makes me feel happy to say that. So, to close out the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, of course, you guys can find Mr. Sri Raj on all the socials and medias. Of course, he is blowing up on the Tikis and Takis and the IGs of Reels. But you can find them all through DFW at various locations. This weekend, you're going to be at Dallas Comedy Club.
Yeah, I'm opening for Brett Ernst, Cobra Kai guy. So
No shit.
Yeah, he's on Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa. It's a,
Yeah, well, I mean, all right.
no, yeah, it was pretty cool. It was
You
pretty
better
cool.
come in there with that Miyagi-Do, though.
I know. I should.
Yeah.
So, no, yeah, I'll be here at DCC this week. I don't. Whenever this comes out, it'll probably be past it.
Yeah, it'll be way past.
Yeah.
But I mean, either way, whenever this episode comes out, just know that you can he's a very easy Google search that you can find him at so many different venues. Dallas Comedy Club, Hyenas, Improv, it doesn't matter. He's got a whole lot of comedians that are wanting to put him on. Are you still doing the all brownout shows?
I am. I think it's just. I think we got to start it up like next month or something like that.
Okay,
And you're definitely gonna be on one.
Oh shit! Please.
Yeah. So
I didn't want to ask. ask.
No, we got it. I got it.
Yeah, but yeah. Either way, you know, regardless, I worked this whole fucking setup just for me to get that, get the piece. I just want to get the piece.
5 minutes.
I'm cool. I'm gonna give you a solid 4. You know what I'm saying? Either way, ladies and gentlemen, this was C. Raj. Make sure you guys check him out, Google him, follow his shit. He's very, very funny man, and hopefully you guys have heard the content from what he's saying. I end this podcast the very, very same way. It might be kind of basic, but any word, phrase, sentence, or sentiment that you want to leave for the world, you close out the podcast. It's on you. Go.
Oh man, that's a lot of pressure, dude. Work hard, play hard, man. That's it.
You could do it all.
You can't do it all, baby.